It's time to talk transfers.
You know, we tried to hook a big one, but he got away.
Right, Kev, you are disgusted because Liverpool have made no signings, and you think that, you know, it's not going to help them further their challenge for the Premier League title.
Well, I think looking at Liverpool this season, I did expect them to invest. Judging from what they've done over the last couple of seasons, they've just gone out and made a big signing early. Like last season, Alisson was done and dusted, got him in, was what they needed the keeper in last season. Klopp feels that, or the club feel that they've done enough business over the last few years that they don't necessarily need to be going out and signing any.
It can't be true though, can it? When you look at the.
There's been one or two, but it's been low profile signings, not the bigger signings that have gone in there. So, what you said.
My point was that ultimately there is a narrative out there that they've got a great squad and that's plenty to get done this season. But I mean, they haven't won the Premier League, so they're expected to make that step up with the same resources. And I mean, I would have thought that if the club were showing some ambition, that you'd be absolutely certain that Klopp was going in to say, listen, we need to strengthen in a couple of positions, and here are the players I might need to bring in, and it might cost us 100 million quid to do it, but it's going to bring us to the brink of the Premier League title.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like,
well obviously the Liverpool, board-wise, and Klopp, they've obviously sat down, and this is the policy for the summer. Look, we're not making any big signings. Are you happy with what you've got? Klopp's obviously had to give it the okay. I'm sure if he'd have seriously pushed, wanted to strengthen in one or two, different departments, that would have been the case. Is he going to go out and spend 100 million on a player that wouldn't necessarily get? Where are you going to strengthen? Now, you look at you've watched Liverpool enough over the last year. Where are you going to strengthen? The big worry for Liverpool would be at the start of this season. There's been a bit of a negative feel around the performances pre-season. They've not necessarily quite been at it. I watched them play one of the pre-season games when I was out in America last week. Who did they play? Was it Real Madrid? I saw them beat. I can't remember actually. No, it was. There was a lot of games I was watching when I was out there anyway. But the front three have been away all summer. Firmino came back. He scored last weekend. Are they going to be up to speed? No, they're not going to be up to speed for the first weekend next year. Let's see how they go. Once you get those front three back, they'll be right. But I was talking to Nathan about it a few days ago, where we were chatting around the season. The way that the Premier League season's gone over the last few years, well, last season was a bit different, that it wasn't necessarily put to bed by Christmas, but Chelsea, look at what they did under Conte a few seasons ago, City last season, the league was put to bed by Christmas. They just went on a great run at the start of the season, blew everyone away, and sides fell away early on the season by losing games early on. They weren't quite up to speed. Look at Tottenham last year. Tottenham were knackered from the World Cup. Harry Kane wasn't really right all season. Their season was almost over before Christmas. They were on catch-up the whole year. They nearly went out the Champions League as well. They lost the first three games. Skin of the teeth, stayed in the Champions League into the new year, and obviously did great to get to a final. Tottenham, I think, are going to be a lot stronger this year. Tottenham will be right at it come the start of the season. So Liverpool are playing catch-up in terms of the squad now, because they've not been able to get back in to have a full pre-season. So they've not strengthened. That is the worry, I think, for Liverpool now, that they've not got one or two players in just to say, well, tell you what, yes, our front three are out, but we need to bring somebody in that's going to maybe help us out a little bit.
And
really.
A bit of depth if they get, a couple of key injuries. I know that like it's just such a.
No, but my point was before I was saying to the legend, where are you strengthening? They've got two brilliant fullbacks. They've got a settled back four now. They've got a brilliant keeper. Midfield is probably the area, isn't it? It is maybe the area that midfield three now. They do have. Oxlade-Chamberlain back now. He's fully fit. You've got Wijnaldum. You've got Milner. You've got Henderson. Is it good enough to seriously challenge City? They're not as good as City in midfield. They're not. They're simply not as good as City. So that might have been an area where you could have gone, let's go and get a ball-playing midfielder.
Even for a bit of depth, because you look at City...
Yeah, but you've got depth. You've got Wijnaldum, got Keita, you've got Henderson, you've got Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I know they mixed and matched a bit with them last year as well, obviously.
But it's not the quality of Silva, De Bruyne.
No, I remember there's another year on the clock as well, and maybe, who knows what happens for him this year. I mean, look, to be fair, he's not exactly a fading quality, but it'd be interesting to see. The Tottenham example as well, like, almost fitting the exact same sort of criteria of not made any signings.
They have looked a bit leggy pre-season when I've the games that I've seen them. Just, the way Liverpool play.
There's that emotional investment of everything that happened for both of those teams last year, and it's only been a short few weeks since that season is done, and suddenly they're back at it again. The Pochettino comments from me during the week were extremely bizarre. Not the comments of a guy who wants to stay at the club.
Long term, it doesn't seem it to me. Yeah,
like it was.
No, but even around the Champions League final, after that, yeah, I definitely would have gone if we'd have won the Champions League final. Does that suggesting that he's definitely looking elsewhere? That's the way.
They should change my job title. He was
am I the coach or am I the manager?
It's only having those conversations in public if you're settled and happy.
But there's an agenda there, isn't there? There's an agenda. I think in relation to Tottenham though as well, something we spoke about Irish players. Troy Parrott, who's played a lot in the pre-season. Be interesting to see. Let's look at him this season. Is he going to progress? The suggestion is he's going to get a lot of game time this year.
Will he?
Well, if I'm looking at I saw the game against Juve a few weeks ago in the starting 11. He started against Real Madrid. Now, imagine a young kid. What is he, 17? Troy Parrott, 18? He started against Juve and Real Madrid. That must be unreal for him. So Pochettino looks to me like he's got a bit of trust in him. I think he's going to get game time this year. Not necessarily starting, but I think he's going to get game time. I think he'll be on the bench, and hopefully he's going to get time on the pitch.
Are we? I mean, at this point of the season, obviously before the community leaving takes place, saying that City's to lose, essentially, given the depth and.
Well, they signed Rodri, haven't they? He's going to make a big difference. I think Kompany's going to be a loss. I do, just in terms of what he brings to the dressing room, what he's, he has been a massive figure within that club, hasn't he? And they've lost a real leader there. I know it's a cliche, isn't it? I lost a leader, but what is he going to bring? But you do. I think he'll be a massive loss to City. Yeah. I do think that. So maybe a centre half. I mean, as I said before, in relation to Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, it looks like he's gone to United. There is still in that background. City have got an interest in Maguire. Could they scupper that one later on and get that deal done? It looks unlikely, but that's where they probably need that one position.
Everton, I was looking at, have finished neither higher than 8th nor lower than 11th in the last 5 seasons.
Is that right?
There's incredible continuity.
Did they not get 7th?
Mediocrity. Well, that was the bit of research that I'd done. Incredible. I mean, even if it was 7th, which my research says it wasn't, that's an incredible level of consistent mediocrity. Is that consistent mediocrity something you expect to continue this season?
If that Zaha deal goes ahead, let's see if they can get that one over the line. That is it a game changer for them? They've probably got similar sort of players as that. They probably do need to strengthen in other areas.
They've lost some key players.
Idrissa Gueye going, but they signed Fabian Delph. I think that's a good signing for them. I think Delph going in there. Is it the wow factor? Everton's wage bill now has gone through the roof, Age. Honestly, they're paying massive money now, massive wages. They're competing with Arsenal now, wages-wise. Not necessarily on the level of Mesut Ozil, but I'm talking the next tier down. They're able to compete with Arsenal. They're able to compete with Spurs, wages-wise. Some of their players well in advance of 100 grand a week plus, so they can compete. So the expectation at Everton is now, certainly with the development in the last couple of weeks, the new stadium is hopefully is a goer for them. I'd be hopeful. I would be hopeful, but not necessarily this season. I think at best for them, it's top 6. Yeah, at best for them.
Which, like, why are they not competing with Arsenal? Like, forgetting about whatever Arsenal can do for the season ahead, and the likes of United, who've been bang average.
Yeah, and you know, in the last 4 or 5 seasons as well, that you've got the likes of Leicester that have been able to do what they did, and Everton are looking at that, and I'm sure a lot of Everton supporters are looking at that with a little bit of envy. That we should be. We're at the stage now. We should be competing with Tottenham, with Arsenal, with Man United, as you say, with what United have done over the last few seasons. I think they should be. I think with the signings that they've made haven't necessarily worked out in what you would expect for them. They pay 50 million for Sigurdsson, 50 million for Richarlison, massive wages that have gone in off the back of that as well. So they should be competing, and that's where I think the next couple of seasons, if they get that stadium over the line, I'd be hopeful. I'm not going to shout from the rooftop, but I'm quietly optimistic that Everton are going to be competing the next 5 or 6 years.
An interesting assistant manager at Everton that I hadn't realised had happened.
Who's
Luis Boamorte.
Oh yeah, you gone in there, yeah. That's it, yeah.
In the last, went in there in June. It was mad. Like, I didn't. It was just a bit of an odd one. Incredible player in his day. Seen him play for Fulham.
Why odd?
It was just a guy who had, for me, had just totally disappeared off the radar. He was on that incredible Fulham team in the early 2000s.
Good player, Luis Boamorte. Really good player.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at Everton over the next while.